Hey guys, so today let's go over weighted averages. Now before we learn how to calculate it, let's first of all go over what a weighted average is. So now on the top of your page, go and write it down. Weighted average is an average where some numbers counts more than others. That is the definition of a weighted average. Now, we also have a formula on that. Let's go ahead and write it down. Let's go all the way down to a lesson summary, which I don't have it on this old version, but you do have it on yours. Next to your lesson summary, let's write down a formula. Now, weighted average in real life is going to deal with multiple numbers. However, in this class, we're going to be dealing with two numbers. So this is a formula for just two numbers, okay? Let's say if I have two numbers, A and B, then my formula for the weighted average will equal to, well, I'll take A's value. By value, I mean if my A is 7, then I'll put 7 right here. I'll take A's value times by A's weight. I'll show you guys what that means in a second. Plus B's value times by B's weight. And then I'll divide everything by my total weight. Now, first of all, this is only for two numbers. However, if you have more than two numbers, all you have to do is just continue to add on this formula, like plus C's value times by C's weight. You can continue to go on forever and ever, however much you need. And that is our formula we're going to use. And let me show you guys how will we use this with our first example. Now, it says find the weighted average of the number 7 and 2 on the number line. Now, first of all, if you guys remember, whenever we find the average, let's say if I'm not trying to find the weighted average, let's say I'm just trying to find the regular average between 7 and 2. What will we do? Well, we'll do 7 plus 2, and then we'll divide it by 2. Right? This is how we find the average, and the average is going to be 4.5. Now, this time we're calculating the weighted average because it says I have 4 times the weight on the 2. Now, let me show you what this means before I actually get into the formula. Now, it says add the number 7 and 2, right? 7 and 2. Now, just like I did right here. But this time it says I have 4 times the weight on a 2. Now, what this means is that instead of me having 1 2, I'm going to actually have a total of 4 2s. My 2s are going to be weighted much more because I technically counted them. I count them more than others. This is what weighted means. Meaning some numbers are being counted more when I calculate the average. Now, how will I figure out the average now? Well, my average, I always calculate by adding everything up and then divide it by the total numbers I have. So I have a total of 1 number, 2 number, 3 number, 4 number, and 5 numbers, right? So therefore, I will divide everything by 5, and this is how I calculate my weighted average. The only difference between right here and here is that my 2 is being counted more. My 2 is being weighted more. Now, let's go and do another example with our formulas. Now, to use our formula, first of all, you write down your two numbers. My two numbers is 7, and my other number is 2. Now, it says I have 4 times the weight on my 2. So this means I'll multiply 2 by 4. Now, when it says weight, it just means I have 1, 2, 3, 4. It appears 4 times in my calculation. So it will be multiplying by 4 because, 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, that's the same as 2 times 4. It's the same exact thing. Hopefully you guys can see these two here are the exact same thing. It's just that we're just writing differently. And the reason I want you guys to write this way is because whenever numbers gets more, like let's say you have 2, and let's say your weight on the 2 is, let's say 27, you probably don't want to write 2 27 times. And this is why you want to write it as this instead, right? Now with that, let's go on to the next step. Well, 7, it doesn't say a weight on it. But if it doesn't say a weight on it, we're just going to assume to be 1, just like how we have right here. We only have 1 7. And then we add everything together, just like how we did on the right side, and then we divide it by the total number of weights. Now, the total number of weights, you can look at it right here, 1 and 4. That adds up to 5. Once you put this in the calculator, you will get your total weights here as, your average weight here as 3. Now, hopefully you can see with our regular average, my average is 4.5. But with my average that counts 2 more weights, my average now becomes 3 because my number line here, now I'm technically closer to the 2 because I weighed 2 much more in my calculation. Now let's look at another example with a different wording. And number 2 and number 3 is the ones that you will see more in your test. And let's just pay close attention to it. Number 2 and number 3. Now for number 2 here, let's take a look. It says calculate the weighted average of -4 and 16 over the weights of 3/8 on the first and 5/8 on the second. Now to calculate that, let's first drop down two numbers, -4 and 16. That is always our first step. Now here it says with 3/8 of the weights on the first. What this means is that if we have 8 numbers, let me just draw 8 circles to represent 8 numbers. If we have 8 numbers, then 3/8 of those, this means out of the 8, 3 of those are going to be on the first number. Well, what is my first number? -4. So this means 3 out of the 8 here is going to be -4. That is all it means. Okay, now let's look at the second part. It says 5/8 on the second. Now, what this means is that if I have 8 numbers, 5 of those 8 numbers are going to be 16. Did I say it wrong previously? I mean 16. Okay. Now, let's do our calculation. Well, -4 times by what? How many weights do I have on the -4? Well, it's 3. So I times it by 3. Well, how many weights do I have on the 16? Well, I have 5. So I times it by 5. Now, hopefully you can see this number right here that you put is literally the number that's on top of your fraction. This number you put right here is literally the number that's on top of your fraction. Okay? Then I will divide this by the total number of weights I have. Or think about the total numbers I have. I have 1 number, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'll divide it by 8. Now hopefully you can see here again, you can find this 8 right here in the denominator of a fraction. So technically the faster way is just to use the fraction so you don't have to draw the picture out. But this is how the process goes. Now if you put all this into your calculator, your answer here will be 8.5. That is your answer. Okay, let's move on to one more example. Now, I recommend you try it on your own first, and then you can watch me do it. Okay, it says find the weighted average of -5 and 11. Let me go ahead and first write down -5 and 11. Now, it says 1/8 of the weight on the first. So this means if I have 8 numbers, one of them is going to be -5. So I'm going to do -5 times 1. Plus, well, 7/8 of the weight on the second. This means if I total of 8 numbers, 7 of those numbers is going to be 11. So I'm going to multiply 11 by 7. And then I'll divide it by my total number of weights. Well, how many total weights do I have? It's 8. I have a total of 8 weights. You can either find it in your fraction or you can do 1 plus 7 right here. That will give us 8. Now you put all this into the calculator and your answer right here should be answer of 9. Now let's move on to a different concept. Now this one isn't really that much about weighted average. It's kind of more like partitioning or line segment. But let's go over it. It says what point on the number line is 5th 7 of the way from -6 to 15. Now to do this, I'm going to first draw a number line for -6 to 15. Now, if I say I'm 5th 7 of the way from here to here, this means I'm going to have to break my line segment into 7 equal spaces. Now, hopefully that makes sense to you. It's just like if I'm saying, hey, I'm a person, I want to go to my house. If I tell you I'm half of the way there, I'm definitely going to break this line to 2 and then say I'm right here, right? So if say I'm 5th 7 of the way here, the 7 is my total distance. Now the 5 is how much I travel. So it'll be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my point will be exactly right here. This is where my little person will be if I'm actually traveling on the line. Now, in order for me to find what this exact point is, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to find my total change from -6 to 15. Now, the total change of -6 to 15, first of all, that's going to be a positive change. And if you use your calculation, -6 is going to be 6 away from 0. 15 is going to be 15 away from 0. This means the total distance here is going to be 21. Now, this is one way you can do it, or what you can do, the easier way is just take the second number minus my first number. And that will also give you 21, or the distance here. Now, 21 is the distance for across all 7 units. But I want to know what is the jump of just 1 unit. So I'll divide this by 7, and I'll get my answer as 3. What this means is that, well, each jump I will be making here, I'm going to be adding 3 each time. Plus 3, plus 3, plus 3, plus 3. However many 3s you need. Now, this will help me to find where this little person is. And it's quite easy. All I will do is just do -6 plus 3, plus 3, plus 3, plus 3, plus 3. And that will figure out your answer. Now, you could do, plus 3 like this many times. Or you can just do -6 plus 3 times 5. That will both give you the same answer. Please note that, plus 3 so many times. It's the same right here. You just, plus 3 5 times. If you go ahead and calculate this, your answer here will also be 9. So where this little person at, that's 5/7 of the way for -6 to 15, it's going to be at 9 as well. Okay, let's move on to question number 5. It says, what point on the number line is 2/5 of the way from A to -12? Let me first go ahead and draw a number line out. Oops. Oh my goodness. From 8 to -12. Now, if I'm 2/5 of the way there, this means my total way should be 5 blocks. So let me break this into 5 blocks. Now, if I'm 2/5 of the way there, this means I will already travel 1, 2. I will already travel 2. So if I'm traveling, this is where my little person is. Now, to find where that exact point is, I'm going to first find the total number of change or distance. If I went from A to -12, first of all, how much is my change? Am I increasing or decreasing? I'm decreasing. By how much? It'll be 20. And you can figure this out through calculation by doing -12 minus 8. That will also give you -20. Then I'll divide this -20 by however many blocks I have so I can figure out how much is just one block. I have total 5 blocks, so I will divide this by 5. I'll get -4. What this means is that each of these little jumps here, I'm going to have to -4. Now, since I only have to make 2 jumps, let me just do the math directly. What is 8 minus 4 minus 4? There's 0. So my little person right here will be equal to 0. That is where my little person is. Are there any questions? Well, you can really ask me through the video. If you have questions, please ask me after class or come to me after school. Now, let's look at question number 6. It said, what point on the number line is 5/6 of the way from -16 to 8? Again, I'm going to draw my number line. -16 to 8. Now, if I'm 5/6 of the way there, this means I'll total have 6 blocks. And 5/6 of the way meaning I will have already traveled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I will be right here. This is where my little person is. To figure out this exact number, I'm going to figure out my change again. I will be traveling from -6 to 8. That means I'm increasing. By how much? The answer is going to be 24. If you want to figure that out, just do the second number minus the first number, and that will become 8 plus 16, which is exactly same as 24. Next, if my total change is 24 across 6 blocks, how much is just for 1 block? I will divide this by 6. And this will tells me each of these little jumps here, I'm jumping by 4 each time. Okay? Now, all I have to do is just do, all I have to do is just do -16. Oh, that looks like plus 16. -16 plus 4 by how many jumps I have? 5. And that will give me my answer here as 4. My little person will be where the number line that says 4. And that's the end of this video. We're now doing 7 and 8. If you want to do it on your own, go ahead. And that's the end of the video.